Hi, my name is Candace Sanders, and welcome to my presentation on controlling images for Black women in American society. Now, before we dive into controlling images, it's important to discuss Patricia Hill Collins. Now, Professor Collins is a social theorist whose research has examined issues of race, gender, social class, sexuality, and the nation. Her inspiring life's work has helped introduce the standpoint theory, which acknowledges and validates the perspectives of African American women. She's widely known for her first publication, Black Feminist Thought, which she explores the words and ideas of Black feminist intellectuals such as Angela Davis, Alice Walker, and Audre Lorde. Her work creates an interpretive framework for Black feminist thought and highlights the importance of self-defined knowledge for Black women. In Black feminist thought, she examines the concept of controlling images and how they affect Black women in American society. In the book, she states, portraying African American women as stereotypical mammies, matriarchs, welfare recipients, and hot mamas helps justify the U.S. Black women's oppression. To effectively explore these examples, it's important to understand what controlling images are. Controlling images are stereotypes that are used against a marginalized group to portray social injustice as natural and inevitable parts of a normal life. Controlling images play out every day in the workplace, the media, academia, and more. Professor Collins goes a step further with her definition by stating controlling images are designed to make racism, sexism, poverty, and other forms of social injustice appear to be natural, normal, and inevitable. Controlling images affect the lives of Black women the most due to intersecting oppressions, which add to their lack of visibility in society. Now, let's briefly touch on some of the main controlling images that are plaguing Black women. First is the Mammy, which is central to intersecting oppressions of race, gender, sexuality, and class. Now, regarding racial oppression, controlling images like the Mammy aim to influence Black maternal behavior. And this image commonly played out in Black women in domestic service, caring for white families. And it's important to note that no matter how loved they were by their white families, Black women domestic workers remained poor because they were economically exploited workers in a capitalist political economy. Now, next we have the matriarch image, which represents a failed mammy, a woman who spends too much time away from home. In most cases, these are working mothers who purportedly cannot properly supervise their children and thus were a major contributing factor to their children's failure at school, professionally, or even with crime. And the matriarch is commonly viewed as an overly aggressive, unfeminine woman, and Black matriarchs allegedly emasculated their lovers and their husbands and will end up alone. Next is the welfare mother image, which represented poor Black mothers who rely on welfare benefits to care for their families. And they too are labeled as bad mothers and lazy for not exhibiting strong work ethic and passing that on to their children. With the general consensus being these mothers are more than happy to sit at home and just collect welfare benefits and do the bare minimum, which is far from the truth. Next, we have the Jezebel, aka the hot mama, and they represented deviant Black female sexuality. And this controlling image, like many of the others, is rooted in slavery. And it was used to justify the frequent sexual assaults and devaluation of Black women's bodies from white men. Lastly is the Black lady, and this image links to Black women who will forge their way into corporate America by pursuing education, working hard, and achieving professional success. And with all that, they are still met with intersecting oppressions in the workplace, and they face a lot of criticism from Black men for routinely competing with them, being too consumed with work, and being too assertive. The controlling image I most identify with is what I call the modern Black lady, which is a hybrid between the modern mammy and the Black lady, but also exhibits characteristics of the matriarch. And the modern Black lady to me is very hyper focused on her career. She wants the best for herself. She wants to move up. She wants opportunity. But she typically has to work twice as hard for lesser pay and respect in the workplace. And then when it comes to love and relationships, she receives a lot of resentment from Black men for her ability to blend into white corporate America. And she's deemed too aggressive and too masculine by Black men, like making her less desirable. And this really started for me at the start of my career when I was just getting into the workforce. And I noticed how hard it was for me to prove myself to get better opportunity and better pay. And I also noticed that a lot of my white, specifically male colleagues who were equally yoked at the experience level, equally yoked at the education level, would make more money than me. And I'd constantly be pigeonholed into administrative and supportive roles, much like the Mammy, instead of being promoted for my full potential. I also faced a lot of microaggressions at work, people not understanding my culture, my appearance, how to interact with me, and so forth. And when it came to dating black men, they'd find me too assertive in my own right. And my ambition, my success, my financial status has always been an issue for men that I may earn more than or have a higher title than. So I truly identify with the modern black lady. And I think that society may have created all of these controlling images really to justify their treatment of black women. But as it pertains to the modern black lady, this is specifically in the professional sphere. I also think there's a desire to create a divide between black men and women and influence black men to see black women as their competitors and that they're too aggressive and too masculine. It also places a lot of blame on black women for their shortcomings and negates the reality that the racial oppressions black women face has forced them to step up and aim for achievement and acknowledgement in society. And there are a lot of implications of these controlling images for Black women in America. First, there's the workplace, which I've already mentioned how so many Black women have to work very hard and deal with people who may not necessarily respect them. There's a lot of microaggressions faced. There's a lot of pigeonholing into positions that they're overqualified for, and really just having to fight for basic things that are deserved of them. Next is the home. A lot of Black women have to be the head of household. They're the breadwinner. They're the caretaker. They have to take care of their parents as they get into older age. All of this pressure weighs on the shoulders of Black women while they're still dealing with the pressures in the workplace, which is a lot for anyone to manage. Next is the media. The media has not done a great job in their depiction of Black women over time. This is historically true, how women are portrayed in music, in movies, in TV shows, in all facets of the media. And while there have been strides made by Black women and their allies to really change the narrative, there is still a ways to go. And lastly, in dating and relationships, I think because it's so hard for Black men and women to meet at the same level or to be understood, a lot of Black women are seeking men outside of their race just to feel that love that they so rightfully deserve. And for Black women who are only interested in dating Black men, I think it's a big struggle for them to find a partner who sees the value in their strength and doesn't use that against them or as a reason to not date them. So, in closing, I think these controlling images have definitely affected the Black woman's place in society and how she's viewed. And I think there's a lot of overlooking the reality of the oppressions that she faces just from being a Black person, just from being a woman. Those two intersecting factors are already a big hindrance and overshadowing of who Black women really are. And that's strong and feminine and nurturing and passionate, gifted, smart, creative women. And once we get a better grasp at minimizing these controlling images, Black women will have a better place in society, and that will be self earned.